Okay.
It's been 2 weeks.
I know.
I feel like you guys are like having like withdrawals without us.
We missed you guys.
I know we've had withdrawals without doing this. We've had a little couple issues the past couple weeks, but it's okay. There's a reason why I'm wearing my craft shirt tonight. Sarah's wearing her ugly red shirt like always.
Not
We'll not talk about that. But we have a very special guest this week.
One that we've met before.
We have met before.
But
Season 1.
So kind as to join us again. But this time, we're not talking about the paranormal. Not completely.
We're talking about the paranormal a little bit. We're still keeping it spooky for you.
It's involved in it. We're still a paranormal channel.
But this week, it's witchcraft and the paranormal. I gotta love the shirt, man. I got it.
So this week we're inviting people to come and ask plenty of questions, get to have an in-depth look from a couple of witches of what it's like to practice witchcraft in the paranormal.
So, from darkly obscure paranormal, let's bring Natalie on again for season 2.
Welcome back.
Hello.
She's been laughing the whole time she's been backstage.
She's
I've been
been
seeing
watching
her.
us.
So we already have comments.
They love your shirt.
Oh, too. Glad you're back. Love your shirt.
You love my shirt. Comment red shirt if you want to keep seeing it. Do it. Do it.
Honestly, we've
Make
gone
this a trend.
over like 10 videos that we've done now, and Sarah's wearing that red shirt out of like 8 out of 10.
There's only a couple videos of me missing it, so if y'all want to keep seeing me wearing this damn shirt.
Hashtag red shirt.
Anyway.
Hashtag red shirt.
Anyways. So.
Red shirt gang.
I'm just going to go buy one just to mess with you guys.
And then I'll never wear it again.
Extra small.
And then I'll never wear it again.
That's what I need to do, guys. That's what I need to do.
It's got a pocket.
We like pockets.
I don't understand girls in pockets.
We're not allowed to have pockets in our clothes.
Pockets are witchcraft.
Pockets
Are
are
Putting
witchcraft.
all of our stones in.
Oh, she put a red shirt. Oh, come on, guys. Come on. I know you guys are killing me right now. So let's get into this, Natalie. So how long have you been practicing witchcraft or?
Yeah. So I've been in the craft for quite some time. I've always been around the paranormal side of it, but I was probably about 11 when I started to explore other belief systems, and witchcraft and everything has kind of come back around several times for me in kind of this exploring my own personal beliefs and just within myself and how I view things, which dealing with the paranormal can make you question a lot of the things that you might not normally question, like life after death and things, reincarnation, things along those lines. So I was about 11 when I came to live with my stepfamily, and they were involved with the pagan community and still are to this very day. So I started getting exposed to that. I was raised in a very Christian Baptist home, live and breathe by the Bible. And at a young age, I was already asking a lot of questions and being told, believe what you're told and don't ask questions. Otherwise, you know, you kind of got shunned for it. So my best friend used to go to a tabernacle. So every other weekend I used to go with her, and that's how I started learning about other beliefs outside of mine. And I learned a lot about her beliefs as well. And then that just kind of kept growing as I got older and trying different things. And initially I excelled with Norse paganism. So that kind of is the area in which I'm practicing currently. Though I practice the Greek pantheon and I've looked at all types of different ones. But the north side's really what has set with me.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. So when it comes to witchcraft and the paranormal, it's one of those things that you kind of think about, but you don't necessarily think of them going together. You think of them more of like a subcategory of the
Yeah.
paranormal.
Absolutely.
But it's actually a big part of it. And those that practice the craft, mediumship, all that stuff, they are actually a very key piece to the entire team. And in some ways, we're kind of what helps bring the team together and make it what it is. Because we cover everything on the spiritual side of things, whether
Right.
it be protection, cleansing, clearing, banishing, things like that. So those are all different pieces that the average investigator may not have experience in. And
Right.
there are some things like spell work and things like that, and conjuring and just communication with the other side that you have to be prepared for. There are things that you should do and there are things that you shouldn't do, and sometimes it's a very fine line based on what it is that you're doing. Intent is something that you'll probably hear quite a bit that we're going to be talking about tonight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your intentions play a key role.
Exactly. And free will, the
Yep.
power of free will.
Right.
Those are two big things that are kind of come into play with it. But yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. Now I do my workshops, mostly my paranormal workshops, but every once in a while you like to throw something else in.
Right.
I am not the only witch on my team. I do have one other who practices with me along the same pantheon and everything, but our team is made up of different beliefs, different religions, and that I feel helps tailor towards our case, towards our clients. If they have a preference on how they want a blessing of their home done,
Right.
it may need to be tailored for that, because what works for me may not work for everyone else, and not everybody is comfortable having somebody who practices the craft even come into their home. So those are all things that we have to be mindful of.
Now, does you and the other investigator both believe in the same craft?
Yes. So me and him are both the same. We've had other investigators with the team that still practice paganism, but not the Norse side of it. They may be the Egyptian pantheon. They may be the Greek pantheon. There's so many different things. You've got the difference between pagans and Wiccans, and just the way that they go about practicing their craft can be a big deciding factor too on how one approaches things.
Right.
Do you feel like having the broader spectrum of different beliefs and religions intertwining together protects you a little bit more?
I think it gives you more of the opportunity to explore and find yourself that is not within the constraints of what everybody else believes in. I think you're able to, in a sense, kind of mix and match certain things that you find that you believe over something else, because there is no ultimate book out there or anything that says this is the only way, this is the correct way.
Right. I feel like that's the same way in paranormal too. Like there's not a one thing. If there was just one thing and one thing only, everybody would be an investigator.
Right. And,
Like, there
and
wouldn't
that's where, at the end of the day, I don't think our beliefs are what matters.
I do think that like your thoughts and what you believe in and what religion you follow plays into the paranormal a little bit.
It does.
Because each religion has their own form of the afterlife.
Correct.
We do have a question for both of us. Can someone who isn't a practicing witch still have paranormal paraphernalia, gems, pendulum, sage, Ouija boards, planchettes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you can still have all that stuff without practicing witchcraft. You can
I have obsidian. She has obsidian. We have sandstone right here. We have sage right here that we use for just protection for us when we go do investigations.
even without.
And I don't practice.
Yeah, he
at
doesn't
all.
practice. I practice a little. I have my whole shrine of gems. I have book of spells that I turn to when
But
I actually need them.
I do believe that like gems and everything, and like if you put
Oh,
that
minerals,
intention
yeah.
as protection, that's what that gem's gonna do.
There's that intention again.
Yeah.
You can also just use a Ouija board just for ish and giggles. Like you don't have to have any religion at all, as long as you're doing it properly.
That's why they sell it next to Monopoly in the toy section.
That's why they have an 8 and up warning on kids' Ouija boards.
Right. 8 years and older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be 8 years or older to summon a demon.
So my response to that, what I always kind of get a chuckle at is that no matter what religion you believe in, clear across the board, whether you call yourself a witch, whether you're a Christian, whatever, we all have the exact same items that we use. We all use candles. We all burn incense. One of the most, well-known ones, myrrh. Myrrh's talked about when it comes to the birth of Jesus. Myrrh is something that we use to burn and use for protection and cleansing areas and stuff like that.
And other herbs.
Yeah, so there is a lot of similarities, dragon's blood, clear across the board. And you don't have to be a witch. You don't have to call yourself a witch. It's what comes down to is your intent, what you're putting behind it, and just that you are putting your energy into that. Manifestations, meditations, those are all forms of how we practice the craft. That's no different than what everyone else does.
Like prayer. That's
exactly
we sit and we meditate. That's our prayer, the same as any other God-following religion. But I think one of the main differences that people have a problem with is that in Christianity and so many other religions, there's only one God, but for us, there's several.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the main things is don't idolize another god over me. He's actually admitting that there's other gods, but he shouldn't. No other should be idolized over him. That's a little jealous, don't you think?
Yep. So I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, you don't have to be a practicing witch for that. You could still have what you call paraphernalia for a paranormal. Again, it comes down to how you're using it. But for example, mediumship, clairvoyance, clairaudience, those are things. Remote viewing is something that we can do, and it still gets wrapped into the same kind of category where it crisscrosses for witchcraft too.
As long as you're putting your energy into it.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have to follow a certain way in order to have those items and trinkets and do it correctly with those items.
Yep.
It's all about how you use them and what you're using them for.
Yep.
So we have a couple sections that we're going to be talking about. The first one is exactly what we're talking about right now. I'll play a little video for you guys, and then we'll talk about it. So, burning sage for your protection. It's one of the oldest forms of protection.
Native Americans used to burn it for protection in their home.
Yeah.
Like in their surrounding areas to protect their families and their tribes from evil spirits.
Yeah. I mean, let me just put this out right now. I don't know anything about witchcraft. Like, this is Natalie and Sarah's whole gig. I'm coming at it as an investigator, a paranormal investigator,
Who's learning?
and dabbing my little toes
You
into
wanted
it.
a witchy goth girlfriend, you got a witchy goth girlfriend.
Right. So that's what I've always been told and like researched, and like in the paranormal, sage Santa would like intent. I put this necklace on the intent to protect me during an investigation. As witchcraft, what do you use Santo and sage and other things for different reasons than I do?
Sage can be used for a lot of different things.
Sage can be used for a lot of different things. It can be used for cleansing, totems,
Herbal tea,
jewelry, things like that. You can use it
just to make your house smell nice.
Yeah, for any location. But sage also, while it's one of the most common items that we'll carry on us as investigators, it comes in so many different varieties because you've got your traditional white sage, you've got lemongrass, you've got some that have lavender, dragon's blood. There's so many different things.
You can also
Dragon's blood.
add things to amplify it.
Exactly.
Well, like using the sage as during the investigation, is that, and that's pretty much using it for intent, just like we are.
Mm-hmm.
So
the intention of clearing negative energy.
Yep.
Right.
And one of the things when you are cleansing, and a lot of people don't realize it. So whenever you are cleansing a home, you're trying to push out any negative energy or anything that might be there, you need to open up all the windows, open the doors, because otherwise you're just chasing the energy around the house.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get anything done. You want it to be able to leave the home and be able to get out.
It just circulates around the room, and you're doing basically.
And you always go with the process of top to bottom, back to front. Anytime that you're cleansing a home, anytime you're doing anything, because you want to gather it all up and do one big push to get rid of it.
Right.
That's also covering all four corners, north, south, east, and west.
Yep.
My uncle said holy water.
Holy water can work too if, again, the intentions are right.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Right.
Because there's so many types of waters. There's so many types of salts that you can use for various different things, which I like. But yeah, so sage is great to be able to use. It's an easy item. Personally, I prefer Palo Santo. It smells better. It doesn't make my smoke detectors go off.
Yep. It's easier to put out too. I learned that the hard way.
Yep. So, I mean, it's an overall great tool to have. What some people don't realize is a lot of these items you either already have in your spice cabinet or they're easy to obtain.
Yeah.
Or you can grow them yourself.
But in replace, if you don't have sage, if you don't have Palo Santo, I almost guarantee everyone has cinnamon sticks or at least ground cinnamon in their spice cabinet.
Yeah.
And that works just as well.
Which, by the way, if anyone's having troubles with negative energy in their home, you can put a little bit of ground cinnamon in all the corners of your house and sweep the floor out the door.
Yep.
Gets rid of negative energy.
That's pretty much the same thing as bless or saging the house, correct?
Saging, you
We're
can
forming a salt line.
Yeah, you can put salt, sprinkle a little salt on the floor when you're sleeping to help kind of cleanse it as it goes out the door. Yeah.
Any natural mineral or anything that grows in nature that we are safe to use in daily life that has been used for centuries is good to use in any form of cleansing, rituals, spells, just keeping yourself safe.
And that's a big part of it because there are some things that you can burn and inhale just fine, but is deadly if you consume it.
Yep.
So knowing the difference and knowing what you can burn and what you can't, and what you can ingest and what you can't is going to be literally a lifesaver.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
always do your research and what needs to be done to properly do something.
So we have Amber that sent a comment. I'm kind of hesitant because I've never done this before, but I do have some sage, and I want to cleanse our house properly pretty soon.
So,
Ooh.
right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So when you're doing any kinds of cleansing and saging, the biggest thing is standing your ground and believing in the words that you are speaking. That's going to have same effect when you're helping to rid a home of any spirits or anything. It's standing your ground. You know, I always go behind and say, you know, any negative energy that resides here is no longer welcome. May only love and light embrace this place. And repeat that kind of like a chant as you're going throughout the whole home. When I'm cleansing, I always go counterclockwise though. And make sure you get every corner of the room, behind doorways, on both sides, just
Right.
making sure you cover everything.
Right.
Because energy can, in so many ways, hide in those places. If you have an attic, same thing. Go up there and go through it. And just, you know, have intent with what you're saying. Believe in what you're saying. You can always, you know, incorporate it into like a prayer, depending on who it is that you're looking to also help. That's also something you can do.
Right. We have Harlem that asked the question: does mugwort also work for
I've
cleansing?
never used mugwort.
It does. So let's see. Mugwort can help with that, though mugwort is actually most commonly used for psychic abilities and being able to enhance it.
Opening the third eye.
So, but mugwort is also one of those that is not safe to consume. It is
Don't
deadly
drink it.
to consume.
Don't drink it, please.
So it's one of those things that you just need to be aware of, because if you haven't done your research, you might not know that until it's too late.
Right.
Ingesting mugwort can actually cause
Dehydration, hallucinations.
it can cause miscarriages
Yeah.
in pregnant women. It can also cause kidney stones. So don't drink mugwort tea. It also it don't taste good. But another thing for burning sage, make sure you have a glass bowl or metal bowl with fire-resistant sand or dirt to put that sucker out, because it don't go out. It's meant to burn. Get something that's not going to burn your house down when you try to put it out. And don't use water, because you'll ruin your sage. I learned that the hard way.
So going from burning sage and protection into this next topic,
which kind of goes along with it.
It does. I kind of tried to put it into what we're doing here. So burning sage and protecting yourself before you do the next video I'm about to show. What do you do right before you're about to practice something or intent or a spell, or what do you do to protect yourself before you do that ritual?
So, and this is kind of a multifaceted answer. So I do the cleansing of myself. I do the cleansing of my space, because I have a room all of its own that I use for any spell work. But being able to cleanse that, making sure that I have my protection barriers, whether it be salt, like tourmaline, whatever it might be, where it needs to be. I usually put some in all four corners of the room. I've used various different things that I've created to kind of help build up those barriers before I do anything.
Right.
But I'm trying to think.
You're fine. Take your time. We're not trying to rush you.
COVID brain has me right now.
Exactly.
A disclaimer. Natalie came on here and still is sick with COVID.
Yep.
And she still came to talk to you guys. So go over to Darkly Obscured
Show her some
Paranormal
love.
and show her some love. Go hit that like button right now.
But yeah, so when I'm preparing my space, I'll do the cleansing there. I'll make sure that my wards are up. And then I always make sure, like, depending on the type of spell work that I'm doing, it kind of changes. My biggest thing is always having a white candle and a black candle. So white candle brings in light, brings in positivity, and things like that. And then the black candle absorbs negative energy, and it's something that afterwards you can just get rid of.
Huh.
Does it
But
break away?
I have a special way in which, when I'm getting ready to do my spell work, that I set everything up. I sage my altar,
Right.
things like that. I have a little prayer that I say beforehand, and then the process of the spell work. So, like, we make our own protection vials for the team. So after we have put all of our energy and focus into creating these, we then do a spell to help amplify that protection. And
Right.
then we seal the top with wax, because that's a very important part whenever you're doing any kind of spell casting, especially if you're creating something, is to be able to seal it with wax all the way around. It's
That
the
just
belief that it,
keeps the energy in
yes,
that.
exactly.
Honestly, I think
Yep.
I think the wax is important because wax isn't really a porous surface, so there's no way for it to escape.
So as we go back into this, let's play this next video, then we can have a conversation about it. So spells.
So before that, there's a comment from Harlem
Oh, there is.
asking, is that why people use wax to cover a Divic box?
Yes.
And it is, yeah. So they believe that by sealing that, it's trapping whatever entity or spirits in there from being able to get out. That's why they're so against anybody, opening
Breaking that seal.
Exactly.
Don't break the seal. Don't break the seal.
Just saying.
Just
Just
saying.
saying.
Just saying.
I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm curious.
If you want to piss off a witch, break the seal.
You ever buy one and I see that there's wax on it and you're trying to break it, I might actually just hit you.
Just saying. Just saying.
We will turn you into a toad if you break the seal.
I won't be the one turning him into the toad. Whatever comes out of the boxes.
Well, all I gotta say to that is ribbit.
Anyways.
Anyway, spell work.
I want a divorce.
This is not the place for that.
We're not married.
Did you not go to this friggin' divorce court? You didn't know that? Sorry.
No, I do have a good spell for that.
Wait,
Oh.
so do I.
That's why this show works so well.
It's
Spells on Conjuring or freaking Paranormal
I put a
page.
spell on you.
it's a good thing I live halfway across the state from you.
You
Yeah.
couldn't get anything done.
Yeah, no. Nor would an investigation ever go.
Oh my god.
Correctly.
No. Okay.
So spell work.
Spell work.
You go ahead.
Okay.
we kind of covered a little bit of that right before we came
Little
into
bit, yeah.
it.
Got a little ahead of ourselves.
It happens. So
Witchy stuff.
spellwork's a big part in what we do, because we're usually doing either protection spells for ourselves, for our team, protection over the location, wherever it is in which we feel we need it. Spellwork is good for banishing anything, a negative energy. any connections with negative emotions, things like that. That can be, a lot of people think of a cord cutting ceremony to be done between two people,
Right.
but it's not always necessarily between two people. It can also be from intrusive thoughts and things like that. It's severing that connection.
Right. Now,
Which
do you guys do any spells or anything for before an investigation? Do you do stuff before?
Yeah, so I always, usually the night before, I'll start getting my equipment. If I'm wearing a pendant, all of that, I'll end up usually saging and doing a salt cleanse with those. And then,
What is a salt cleanse?
sure. So a salt cleanse is where you just get a bowl of salt, and you put the item in it and kind of cover it up. And then when you're ready, you take it out and throw away the salt. It's pretty simple.
It's also kind of similar to me putting a salt circle around
Mhm.
Elle when she's not giving attention.
By the way,
Guess who's back? I know Emma's gonna love that.
Spooky.
so with a haunted object like we have, or like haunted objects, period, do you guys do spells for haunted objects and all that stuff? Or
You can, making sure that wherever this item is, that there's a protection that's done around the room that it's in, especially if you're collecting like haunted items. The items themselves need to be blessed, which you can use. What is it? You can use holy water. You can use any kind of blessed water. You can use Florida water.
That Florida swamp water, baby. You can also use rose water, by the way.
Yes, any type of herbal infused water can usually be done.
Especially if it's done on a full moon.
Yes.
Any spell or form of protection that's done on a full moon, it just amplifies it, because a lot of things draw power from the cycles of the moon.
well, the full moon, or like a harvest moon, or like a blood moon, has different energies that it's putting out, correct?
Correct. So a lot of times when we're doing any type of banishing, we like to try and do it around the dark moon. The dark moon. So most people know full moon, new moon, but you have one that's kind of right there in the middle, and that's the dark moon.
Mm-hmm.
And the dark moon is a great time to be able to just dispel of anything. Then you go into the new moon. It brings in, positivity, light. And then at the full moon, that's when it's at its, highest potential.
Right. Now, what's the difference between a full moon or dark moon? Like, other than the spell that you're doing, why is it so important to do it on a dark moon?
So we have a lot of cosmic energies, depending on your beliefs, will kind of determine where you fall on the spectrum. But we have what's called houses, planet houses, and different signs, your zodiac signs, things like that. They fall into different houses with the planetary alignment. It's a whole ordeal that would take a whole nother discussion group.
We'll talk about it some other time.
Yeah, that's part 2.
Yeah.
But different things fall into it, and they can affect different things. There's something called retrograde, and the planet's system reverses,
Right.
go backwards for a little bit. And usually that's when we start seeing things like relationships, electronics, communication goes to shit. Like, that's usually because we're in the retrograde phase, and then afterwards things will go back to normal.
It's all Mercury's fault.
It is. It's always Mercury's fault.
So,
don't blame Mars. We didn't do it.
What? Now that you bring like the planets up and everything, does that have a big thing with the craft? Or
it can? Yes. Yep. And the same thing we notice, like with the moon cycles, is it also affected in the paranormal when we're doing investigations. Sometimes If it's a full moon, we tend to have a lot of high energy going, especially if it's like the blue moon,
Right.
Something
blood moon,
special.
anything like that. Yeah.
Anything special that doesn't.
Um, but there's something else that helps too. And I'm trying to think of it. And COVID brain's getting the best of me, so we'll come back to it.
If
So
you think about it, you're good.
Like, I know the whole blood moon, that's a big thing for witchcraft.
Yes.
What can you explain why that's so significant? Or
Like we said, every specialty moon has its own special
Meaning.
properties. Yeah, meanings to it.
like the blood moon's the most like high
Just
up
like
there,
the-
right?
Bam, bam. That's like wishing on
It
steroids.
has a lot to it. We just had the super full blue moon
Yes.
Yeah.
not too long ago, and we did an amazing ritual with our coven, and it was just absolutely empowering of its own. But that made any spell work we were doing, like I have giant bottles of moon water that's been charged from like every cycle, and especially at that one I did 2 bottles just so I had it for a little extra oomph. And the next thing people are going to ask is, well, how do you get moon water? You take a bottle or and you stick it outside under the moon, leave it there for a few hours, let it charge, and then bring it in before sunrise. That's it.
That's kind of like
The
brewing.
solar power.
It's kind of like brewing tea in the sun,
Yeah.
pretty
Yep.
much. So Harlem
How do you
asks,
get moon water? How do you think you get moon water?
do horoscopes play into spells and such as well?
Oh yeah.
They do. They do. And
Like, is different horoscopes stronger with the abilities? Or?
so each horoscope is based around a different, a Pisces, Capricorn, Sagittarius, Cancer, whatever you fall
Right.
under. Different horoscopes can kind of tailor one way or the other. For instance, like I'm a Pisces, so I'm a fish.
So am I.
So we are very creative, but we're also very emotional beings. People rely on us a lot. We take care of everyone else, but not ourselves. And I just called us both out. Okay, now that that's clear.
Anyways,
That does
There we go.
because for individuals like myself that tend to run on the emotional side, if I don't keep that in check, that emotion then transfers into my spell work. But I might also have more energy and potential to be able to put into a spell, perhaps that is helping with creativity or a new job venture or anything like that. That energy tends to be a little bit more intense and a little bit stronger towards what you're working for.
intent.
Yeah.
That's a key word today. Intent.
Intent.
people.
Coming up a lot today. What is the word of the day?
We'll put out an index glossary list of
Yeah,
all
right.
the words so that people
Well-
can check mark them. It's like bingo.
Yeah, right.
Take a shot for every time they say intention or shade.
Does that count for us too, or is that after hours?
I got fruit punch.
We should
Oh.
do that though. It should be an after hours podcast.
When we go back and watch it.
I'm actually I'm a month away from being
So proud.
alcohol free for a year.
Oh, yay. Okay, so then we're just gonna do mocktails. I can
Cool.
go buy a couple bottles of sparkling grape juice.
I mean, that kind of requires you to come down here.
We'll just do it virtually.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
It counts. Okay, well, hopefully I'll be down there next year.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We don't know if we're gonna do Guildcrest next year. We might. We're not sure.
We will.
We're gonna
Yeah.
try.
Henry, if you're watching, don't listen to her.
We're gonna try.
Don't listen to her. So going from burning sage to spells, this is actually one that I really want to know your intake about. Let's play this video real quick. Oh, actually, we got a comment first. One second. Oh, congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So let's play this video. Now, mediumship. So this is kind of like going off of our first interview this season for season 2.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did the Conjuring House, which Lorraine Warren investigated, and she's a medium clairvoyant. Is that a big part in the witchcraft community, mediumship? Like,
So it's not necessarily a direct link between the two. A lot of
cousins.
people who practice the craft have also worked on their own abilities and opening up that third eye and being able to communicate with the other side. So they do tend to go hand in hand at times, but not every witch is a medium and not every medium is a witch.
right.
It's different for everybody. For me, I happen to fall in both categories. So there's, again, we'll need a glossary of list all the words. We'll publish this by the end of the season.
One of the days.
We will edit this one day.
But there's different types of mediumship. So you got precog, which is being able to see the future, postcog, the past. Psychometry refers to being able to sense things through touch. And then just being able to use these abilities to communicate. So when somebody says that they're a medium, they can fall under multiple different categories. But if they say, I'm postcog, so they're saying things in the past, a lot of people think that means images, and it doesn't. It means all senses, and that goes for every single type of ability. We get thoughts, we smell things, we see things, we feel things. There's so many different parts to it that one can experience. They can experience just one, or they can experience all of these things.
Right.
And it's not the same every time it happens. So knowing that, it kind of comes down to meditation, making sure that you're in the right headspace, making sure that your location where you're at, you're protected from any outside type influences.
Right.
So being able to make sure that you have that can kind of shape up for where you need to be able to communicate, because the ability to communicate with the other side, and especially when it comes to our help, being able to help spirits cross over and go into the light or transition to their next life, however it may be, it's draining. It is physically, mentally, emotionally draining. So making sure that you've taken time for you, just making sure that both before and after you do self-care, however that might look for you, if it means taking a shower or just relaxing with some essential oils, whatever works for you. I've got a white sage soap that I use for when I shower after investigations, just to kind of help get rid of any residual ick that might.
Yeah, right.
That's a good idea.
That's a big thing of what I do. Like, we go to the local cemeteries around here for board or everything. If I'm in a bad mood or tired or any kind of energy that's not right, I won't go. Like, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to bring myself to that environment in a bad mood, or but we do try to sage ourselves. We do sage ourselves after. We really need to start doing it before too.
Yeah.
But I didn't I didn't realize that soap and all that kind of stuff can play into that too. That never crossed my mind.
Salt scrubs work really well as also.
Sugar scrub too.
Yep. Epsom salt. Yeah, all of it works.
So, as you say that you fall into both realms, so you're a medium and a witch?
Correct.
So have you always known that you've been a medium, or
I've always been sensitive to the paranormal, whether it be by seeing, smelling, feeling. I've kind of at some point have gone through all of them within reason. Usually the past is not necessarily like what happened a week ago. For me, it's more past life.
right?
And being able to see energy that might be left over, things like that. So for me, on both sides of the spectrum, knowing that I had these abilities and being in a family that didn't necessarily accept those abilities,
Right.
which a lot of children go through, they're suppressed, which is why children a lot of times start seeing things at such a young age. They're imaginary friends, but society has kind of tampered that down. And then they start getting older into their, teenage hormones.
Yeah.
And those abilities then tend to get amped up. And that's when we start seeing a lot of activity happening around them. They're getting overwhelmed. They've started, hearing things. And by that point, people kind of put you under the crazy umbrella,
Right.
not realizing that you've actually had these abilities that have been suppressed. And now they've just kind of opened that Pandora's box. And it's really hard to kind of backtrack and learn. So for me, I was aware of the paranormal. I've always loved paranormal, not even knowing it at the time
Right.
how involved I really was with it.
Right.
Then when I crossed over and started practicing the craft, they started going hand in hand. And that's when I started kind of doing a little bit of both. Being able to do those protections before and after, knowing how to help a spirit cross over. Sometimes even just giving a spirit
An answer.
yeah, an answer, but even like a memorial, like to help them cross over, to help them, sometimes they just have a message. And then there's also this thing that's called fragmenting. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what that means. So when a spirit crosses through the doorway, the portal, yes, crosses that veil, there's a thing, what a phenomenon, I guess you'd call it, where that spirit, part of them is fragmented and stays behind when the rest of them crosses over. And a lot of time you see this in spirits who have battled like really bad mental health, depression, addiction, things like that. So those parts, the anger, the addiction, whatever, sometimes stays behind when the rest of the spirit's been able to cross over. And that's usually unresolved issues.
So does that turn into, now that you're explaining it more, does that turn in, the fragments turn into residual other than an intelligent? So the intelligent part leaves and half the other part stays residual and just plays over and over.
Yep.
Got ya. We have a question for you, Natalie.
Specifically you.
Are you an empath?
I am. So being an empath, for those that aren't familiar, is being able to feel other people's emotions, being able to read the room, things along those lines. And for me, very much so. The only thing I've loved about COVID is that I don't have to physically be around a million people.
Yeah.
But even things like this, like there are still some things that you pick up on even from afar.
Right.
But yes, so being an empath, you really do have to work on that meditation and just making sure that you're in the right place when you're around that, because that's very overwhelming. It's kind of a sensory overload. And if you're already dealing with sensory issues, then that kind of comes onto it.
Right.
Do you feel like
Sorry.
do you feel like being an empath helps you both in the craft and with paranormal?
Yes. So with the craft being an empath for me, I feel like when I'm evoking a deity or a spirit, I'm able to feel that connection so much more. And being able to sense when they're around or when, a spirit animal or anything like that's around, I tend to pick up on that.
Yeah.
So I do feel like that helps there. Being an empath on an investigation, whether it be with your client and being able to feel their emotions so you can try and help walk them through it, or even being able to feel the residual energy that's left over. Sometimes you walk in and you're just like, I want to cry.
Yeah.
I'm just overwhelmed. Like, I was laughing 2 seconds ago and now I'm absolutely bawling my eyes out.
Or you're angry.
So now that you're explaining all this and like it's making more sense to me, I feel like I've always thought I was more sensitive. Maybe I am empath because I do feel people like when she's upset or nervous, I 100% feel it. Maybe it's because of the connection that we have.
Actually.
But yeah, like if I can smell rain, I know when something bad's gonna happen. I know like if you're a crappy person, I'm gonna feel that you're a crappy person.
Yep.
Maybe I do have a little empath. I've just never gone into that.
It may also come down to auras and being able to feel, see, read auras.
Right.
That can kind of also sway you when it comes to meeting somebody. But yeah, so that's kind of how that goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really anything else on the empath side.
We actually have another one.
For you?
Is that where you get the residual energy from spirits?
I'm assuming that was in regards to the fragmenting, and if so,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yep. The only thing as an empath, you want to make sure that you have your own protection barriers put up so that you're not getting bombarded. For me, I explain it like going to the DMV. You walk in, you take a number, you have a seat, and when I'm ready for you, I will call you back.
Right.
Otherwise, they stay on one side of the divider and I'm on the other. Because if I get bombarded, I don't get the right messages or they get all jarbled. And it's, again, very overwhelming. So being able to, I only operate from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Right.
Otherwise, you can wait your turn till tomorrow. Like, you have to set those boundaries for yourself as well as for them.
Got ya. So going into spells and mediumship and witchcraft period, let's play this next video and then we can have a chat about it. So not the Conjuring movie.
Not the Conjuring movie, but we
Not
were talking.
that
We were talking
Conjuring.
about conjurings.
But doing spells and everything, that's conjuring and energy,
That
right?
is conjuring.
Yep.
So
Manifesting.
Yep. Manifestation, conjuring kind of fall in the same category. When I hear the word conjuring, besides the movie series, the biggest one that pops in the head is the Ouija board. That's every time everyone's all go-to favorite thing in the world to do. And
it's also the most dangerous.
It is. And it's like playing telephone, but you don't know who's on the other side. And you're blindfolded, so you don't know when they walk in who they are. There's just so many variables to it. There is only a handful of people that I will use the board with. I don't even use all 5 fingers when it comes to those people, just because it is so far and few. There is a way to do it. There's a way to open the board. There's a way to use the board, and there's a way to close the board. And disposing of the board is a whole nother process of its own that a
Right.
lot of people don't realize. A lot of times they think just throwing it in the trash or trying to burn it will do it, and it doesn't. There's much more that goes into it than that.
So, just talking about The Conjuring, I wanted to put this out. If nobody has seen this, The Conjuring: The Last Rites, extreme brutal violence and disturbing graphic images. Now, with the Ed and Lorraine Warren, they weren't really into the witchcraft conjuring thing. What's the difference between like witchcraft or like in the third one, The Devil Made Me Do It? That was pretty much her conjuring with black magic to put a demon on them. Like, I'm not trying to get into the whole black magic thing.
Right.
We don't talk about that stuff.
That's the forbidden.
Yeah.
The forbidden juju.
But like, that's her conjuring the bad spirits.
Right.
When you do spirit, like when you do spells and everything, do you have to put a different type of, like when you're conjuring something, do you have to put like a certain type of energy, or can you explain that a little bit? I don't know too much about witchcraft, so I don't know what to ask you.
The quote unquote black magic. I can't really speak to that side because that's not necessarily something I dabble in.
Right.
But I also don't believe that there's black and there's white.
Okay.
A lot of people think black is bad, white is good, gray somewhere in the middle, and it comes down to intention. Clear across the board. If you have good intentions, good things are going to come out of it. If you have negative intentions, negative things are going to come out of it. It's all based on intent.
I'm going to drink every time you say intent now.
So the intent of all this.
Thanks. I'm thirsty.
You're welcome. Really putting that into your spell work or anything that you're doing is going to play a part of that. I wouldn't suggest conjuring things because you start dabbling in things that you just don't understand.
I mean, I feel like that's what you're basically doing with a Ouija board or a spirit box.
That's exactly what you're doing with all of that.
I understand that.
You are opening up the door, and
Right.
it is not just a one way. It goes every which way.
Yeah.
And different things, whether it be the Ouija board, pendulum, scrying, things like that. If you open a door, you need to close it.
Don't just leave it open for the flies to come in.
No. Otherwise, you start creating a paranormal highway. And those are a bitch to deal with. So
Yeah.
I would like to avoid those.
That's kind of when witchcraft does flow into the paranormal. Like directly, like
seal. So yeah.
Hey.
So we would be able to help seal those doorways, those portals. Just being able to help get rid of them. All kinds of different things. So
That's when we become
the biggest
useful.
thing is being able to close and to seal the doorway so that
Right.
nothing else can come through.
Close it and keep it closed.
Well, I feel like being a medium or an empath helps you with that spell even more.
Oh, for sure.
Like blessing or, conjuring something that you can feel that energy happening.
It's the self-manifestation.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big part of it is the manifesting. There is something in the witchy side of things when we're calling on something or someone. There's a difference between evoke and invoke.
Mhm.
Evoke is calling for or calling forth something to assist you. Invoking is calling to. So it's more of a demand that you're going to come in and work with me versus I'm asking on the spirits of, the air, fire, water.
It's basically a broadcast versus a direct
Yes,
call.
for assistance. Whereas invoking is a little more direct.
Yep.
Towards who you're looking for.
Got ya. So we have one more, which I really want to get into. I've been telling Sarah that I want to get into this and learn this. I just haven't been able to do it
So easy.
yet.
What's really funny is we ended up doing this on our first date. We pulled the one card.
Oh yeah, we did.
2 of Cups.
So when we first met, we were with my friend's band. We were at their warehouse, and a friend of theirs made their own tarot cards. And I can't remember the first one that she picked.
I pulled So Be It, and you pulled
Oh,
Love.
Yeah, she pulled So Be It, and then like an hour later, I pulled the card and it said Love. So maybe the tarot cards had a play in our relationship. I don't know.
I just randomly drew a card.
But into that, let's play this video and then we'll talk about it more. So I know you guys, you personally use the tarot cards at a local shop in your area with giving readings and everything. What got you in you being a witch and everything? Does that tarot cards help with the craft, or? So
it wasn't until recent that I actually started use any form of divination in this form on investigations. But for them going hand in hand, they did for me. They don't necessarily do that for everybody. Some people are really good at tarot. Some people are really good at oracle readings. Some people are really good at runes, which is not my forte. Oracle readings are more my style. But in the last few years, I've started learning how to do tarot and being able to read those. Some people catch on really quick. Others, like me, take a little time to do it.
Right.
But I finally kind of gotten to that point where I feel comfortable in what I'm doing. And while the cards already have, in some ways, predetermined ideas of what they represent, I guess this is where being an empath also comes in, because sometimes what I see in the cards is not the message that I'm necessarily receiving. My interpretation of it may be slightly different than the cards, but that's because of the messages that I'm being given.
Right.
From an external source. I had one lady where her grandfather came through during the reading and wanted to reassure her in her situation. So that was one of those instances where it was kind of the mediumship, the divination, and everything else just kind of went hand in hand, them being an empath. So sometimes they cross over on every level. But that just kind of depends. Tarot are a little more direct in kind of giving you the idea of what's going on, what's happened recently, what's going to happen, what effects are having on it, all various different things. Where Oracle are more for guidance. They're more of, this is what's happened recently in the past, this is what's currently happening, and at some point this is going to happen. It's just kind of, be prepared for something coming your way, where tarot tends to be a little bit more, watch out for the people in your lives, look out for snakes in the grass, pretty much. Like, somebody's got it out for you. You don't know who it is, or you do know who it is, but you need to bide your time. Like, don't invest in a house right now, or do invest in a house right now. So different messages can kind of come across, but each category in the tarot deck means something slightly different. So there's 5 parts to the tarot deck. You have the major arcana, which are individual spiritual enlightenment and evolution type cards. So they tend to be about more specific situations. The cups tend to be more emotional. The most common one is the Two of Cups, and that represents relationships. Swords have always represented thoughts for me, thoughts and ideas, sometimes even crossing over with the emotion. Pentacles tend to represent finances or abundance coming in or out of your life. And then wands tend to be actions or events that are going on or will be going on.
All right. Now you sent us a picture. Is this your personal deck or?
Yeah, so that's my personal one. That was actually a reading that I did.
That's so pretty.
So I know there's different types of decks.
Mhm.
Do different decks mean different things, or they all kind of mean the same thing?
That's a tricky question. They're kind of both. They're all the same generalized cards. You have the Fool, you have the Empress in every deck, the Ace of Coins, whatever it might be. Those are all the same. But different ones can represent different things. So some people work really well with the angels. So they may find an oracle or a tarot deck that represents the angels. I've got one that represents the fae, so fairies, that I work with a lot, that I really like. I have a few different decks, depending on what I'm using them for. But based on what you feel drawn to, a lot of people, when they go to pick their first tarot deck or their first oracle deck, they're like, I like unicorns, so I want the one with the unicorns. And that's not how tarot works. It's what calls to you. You have to follow that intuition and those feelings, because you might like unicorns, but you're drawn to the vampire deck instead. Like, you can be on a totally different wavelength. But if that is what calls to you, then those are the cards that are going to speak to you the most. And having that special connection with your cards is important.
Got it. And now, what kind of deck is this?
So that one is the, which deck is that? I don't even remember which deck that is. It's not my angel deck. I'd have to look. I don't remember which deck that is.
It's okay. So the last time that I got a tarot read, it was a Viking tarot. It was more of her using like a dice type things, and like the symbols, and the certain symbols meant certain thing.
So those are called runes.
Runes? Okay. So she told me at the beginning of, before the reading, to put one thing in my head that I want to do the most in my life. And by the end of it, she said that she was so shocked and so like in tune with me, and like that I was so far into the paranormal world before I didn't even say anything to her that I was into the paranormal or anything. She's like, you were so far in, like half into the world and half into the paranormal world. It's the craziest she's ever seen. So that's my last tarot read. I don't know if it's different for everybody else, or
everybody's going to have a slightly different opinion when it comes to cards. Some believe it's just being able to read the room and read people, to know what to say and what not to say, body language. Other people believe that you're communicating with a higher power. Everyone's beliefs are going to be a little bit different on that. You're going to have people that swear by them. You're going to have people that want nothing to do with them. It just varies. Every person's different.
I need to go get one then.
Got ya. We actually thought about doing a video, baby,
trying to go get our palms read,
about going to get a tarot read and filming it for you guys.
When I'm not sick with COVID, we can do that.
Awesome.
Which we are at our hour mark.
We do have
we have a comment. Have you ever done tea leaf readings?
I've tried it once. It was interesting. I don't know how much I really followed along with it. Then again, trying to read it was, I don't know, kind of awkward. But I actually
That's just
prefer
me.
So it's
doing
like kind of just looking at a leaf and reading the
the
veins.
the leaves that stick to the bottom of the cup. So what you're supposed to do is drink your tea slowly while in visualizing whatever it is that you're wanting to know about. And when you get down to the bottom and you finish your tea, there's supposed to be residual at the bottom. And you should be able to see images or words or anything like that written out within the tea leaves. That's always how I knew how to do it. What I prefer doing is divination through either the candle flame or with the wax. So I have a candle, I have my intentions, whatever. I usually do like a rosemary oil rub on it. And then when it burns down, I read the wax and how it played out. So that's just another form that you
Yeah.
We have a question.
We have one more question, and we'll go to the question of the week. I don't want to hold you too long.
No, you're good.
This one's for Natalie. Do you know about scrying, or have you or your team went under a session for an investigation?
Yes and yes on both accounts. So scrying is something that I've done a couple of times. Was it last Halloween, last Samhain? We had our ritual and everything set up, and on the altar was a scrying board, a scrying mirror, and we were able to look into that. And for me, I had a deceased loved one come through.
Wow.
Which was an awesome experience. Using them on investigations, I have before, I haven't recently. It is one of those things also that's a doorway. Any mirrors, especially if they're facing each other, can work as a doorway, as a portal for things to come in and out of.
Right.
So it's not something I do very often, but it's also something that you want to be careful when you're using, like anything else for the paranormal. Just be cautious. Don't be a dum-dum.
Right. Like we said at the beginning of this show, protection. Always, that's the biggest thing. Intent. But always, even when you're doing the paranormal investigations, you're doing witchcraft, you're doing anything to contact the other side, always protect yourself, always save yourself, always have that kind of protection about anything that you do.
Don't be stupid.
What she said.
Don't be stupid. If you think it's a dumb idea, it probably is.
All right.
Yeah. And if anybody has questions about the paranormal or witchcraft, feel free to message me, to contact me. Chris can always get you in contact with me if need be.
You can find her at Darkly Obscured Pure Investigations.
Yep.
On Facebook, you have a YouTube also, correct?
We have YouTube, we have TikTok, we've got Facebook, we've got it all.
Oh, and thanks for your team for joining us today too. They've been in the comments all night. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. See Darkly Obscure Paranormal. Thank you guys. We love your team. One of these days we're gonna do a collaboration.
We'll get everybody on here one of these days.
One of these days, either on video or in live.
Yeah, that would be even better.
That would be even better.
Because we'll have to go live for that forever.
Oh, absolutely.
It'll be live all
for
night.
Sure.
But we do have a couple videos to show because we've updated some stuff.
So, want to throw out the convention that we have. We've been talking about it for a couple weeks, for a couple months, and it's 2 weeks away.
2 weeks.
2 weeks away. We have special guests. We have special guests. I can't wait. So here's the updated new little flyer that I made. Here you go, guys. Unity convention. She just called me a jerk before they did. I messed up my train of thought. So the Gilchrist County Jail, it's with our friend Henry that we've done investigations. We've done a couple interviews with him on here. The 3rd annual Ghoul Fest Para Unity convention is in 2 weeks. If you come, it's free. We have Naked and Afraid cast. We have costumes. We have paranormal investigators from all over the country. We have food.
I'm trying to get Lauren the Mortician to come. If you
And
know who
the
Lauren
good
is.
thing about this convention is Underworld Ministry will have a table. So come and say hi.
We got a whole plan for our little table.
If anybody's watching this and they come up and tell me that they watched this episode and give me a hug, I will give you something free from the table.
If I leave now, I might make it there in time.
Just walk.
I mean, we got 2 weeks. COVID and all. Just come on.
Halfway there, I'll be out of the quarantine.
We don't mind.
All right. So before we let you go, Natalie, we have a question of the week. Let's play that real quick.
Man, I sure hope so.
I know. So
You believe in yourself, Natalie.
So what happened was, I knew that you did witchcraft. I know you were practiced. I didn't know you were empathic and medium until we started talking. So everybody in the comments, do you guys believe in Natalie? I really put that on there to get Natalie to laugh because she's been sick and miserable. So I thought I would cheer her up a little bit.
Just remember.
We're going with that one. We'll
Just
stick
remember,
with that.
y'all might not believe in ghosts, but ghosts believe in you.
Yeah.
Lord, I hope so.
What's so dumb now, guys? Thanks. So Amber says maybe, but seriously, I definitely do. Harlem says absolutely.
I believe in
We
you.
still believe. So in the comments of this video, I need you to go hashtag we believe, hashtag intent.
Hashtag red shirt.
I'm trying to switch off the red shirt thing going, you know. Arlen said, what is a medium? I thought that was a math thing.
About 2 sizes smaller than me.
That's a median, not a medium.
A medium is what I was in like 5th grade. That's what that was.
I haven't been a medium in a while.
But I'm so glad that we got to cheer you up and have this conversation with you, Natalie. And now that you're crying,
I'm going to start turning purple because I can't breathe. I don't know what's going to do me in first, this or COVID.
yeah, right?
We're trying.
But on a serious note, I want to thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us and speaking about your craft that you
I think this has been one
feel
of my
really
favorite
strongly
episodes.
about. This is pretty much the awesome. This is the best episode so far.
I'll be back.
Yes.
You definitely will be.
You never know.
If
We
not,
might be planning something in a couple months with a different.
subject.
We might
Sure,
do,
we'll go with that.
We might do a round 2 of Witchcraft and the Paranormal with a special guest other than Natalie.
I think Natalie should join us every single season.
Yes.
She likes it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're our season guest every episode,
Thank
every
you.
season now.
Not possible without the people in the comments.
Absolutely.
Well, if y'all want to see Natalie come back sooner rather than later,
Hashtag, I don't know, bring back Natalie.
Let us
Hitting them
know.
hashtags today.
Hit all the hashtags.
So before we let everybody go, everybody watching in the videos right now,
Thank you.
if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you guys want to send stars,
oh yeah,
it
we still have
helps
those. We
everything.
still have that thing.
It helps us out with this podcast. It helps us out with Underworld. Go to Natalie, go to Darkly Obscured Paranormal, hit that like and subscribe button.
Let us know any other subjects you guys want us to talk about outside of the paranormal.
And I do offer virtual
Incredible.
readings too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hashtag bring back Natalie. Yeah. Oh, we're getting that
I
hashtag.
think people like you now.
I do also offer virtual readings too for anybody who's interested.
I'm coming for that.
Yes.
I want one when you're
So,
feeling better.
If
Right. Give me
you
about a
can-
week.
if you can't get hold of Natalie,
hold of us.
contact Underworld or contact me personally. We will get you in contact with Natalie with any help that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love you guys. We look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Oh, I gotta.
There's a new one. Hashtag intention. Bring back Natalie.
That's our intention.
Love it, guys. Love it.
That's awesome.
Intentions for Natalie.
But I want to greatly appreciate you coming in, hanging out.
Thank you.
There will definitely be a part 2.
We
Watchers.
appreciate you. We
Come
love
and hang
all the
out with
people.
us.
We love you guys.
Thank you for coming to hang out with us at the Creepy Kids table.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.